Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Forum's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. We're going to laisser les bon temps rouler. We're going to let the good times roll on Out of the Gate with two Kentucky Derby preps. Saturday's Grade 2 Louisiana Derby at the fairgrounds. Sunday's Grade 3 Sunland Derby out in New Mexico. DRF handicappers Matt Bernier, Mike Beer, and I will also take a look at Saturday's DRF bets race of the day, the Grade 2 Santa Monica Stakes. Nicole Russo's pedigree pick segment focuses on the Sunland Derby. JK, Jonathan Kinchin's got a Gulfstream pick 3 for his play of the day. David Aragona's Timeform US Spotlight focuses on race 9 at Aqueduct. We got tourney talk, we got lots more, so let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate this week with our Hot Topic segment. No hotter topic in the world of thoroughbred racing than Kentucky Derby prep season. The three of us have assembled our top 5 lists for the Kentucky Derby. We know it's several months away, but Matt, who's tops on your list?
Right now, it's Catholic Boy, and it seems like he's lost a little bit of shine recently just because I don't want to say he was disappointing in the Sam F. Davis, but he was a little bit disappointing, I suppose. We're going to take a look at that replay right now. I thought all things considered, he was really, really impressive winning the Remsen as a 2-year-old. Sure, maybe he hung a little bit, and Jonathan Thomas even said as much, but the thing that I like most about this is this was just kind of a starting off point, and he's going to have an opportunity next Saturday to right the ship and get back going the right direction in the Florida Derby. He's going to have to beat some good horses there, but it just kind of feels like to me he's always looked like a Kentucky Derby kind of prospects where 10 furlongs not going to be a problem for him. If he gets a little bit of pace, I think he's a good one. And then the rest of the list, Bolt D'Oro, no problem with him. McKenzie, no problem with him. Magnum Moon, very impressive last weekend in the Rebel. And I needed to find a 5th horse, so I took a stab here with Asmussen and Reride.
Reride, we'll be seeing him, it looks like, in the UAE Derby next week. Really interesting spot. Mike, similar top 5, at least on the top end of things.
Yeah, I put Catholic Boy number 1 too. I don't have that much to add to what Matt said about him. I just sort of wanted to give him one more chance. He was, his first start in that down at Tampa Bay. You're hoping for a little more out of him maybe, but it was just his first start. I don't want to be too hard on him for it. I will say that he will have to improve in the Florida Derby next time out. We'll see if he can do that. Other than that, I think I just sort of went logical with the 3-year-olds here. I put Justify second. I don't know how you two guys don't have Justify in your top 5 based off of this horse's first 2 races. We can take a look at his allowance win here. Wet track, fast pace, kept up with it, buries these horses. To me, just the fact that he was even in this allowance race just reeks of confidence from Bob Baffert. He doesn't need 2 preps for this horse to get into to get points for the Derby. He only needs 1. Baffert knows he's winning wherever he shows up next. He just might be the best 3-year-old in the country.
And this was his 2-turn debut. This is certainly an uncommon talent, no doubt about it. I mean, I guess the curse of Apollo might be lurking in the back of Matt's mind, in the back of my mind, but
you both have Magnum Moon on your list. You don't have this
going
horse
to be broken one of these days. Let's take a look at my top 5. I thought the San Felipe was the best prep race we've seen so far this week, and we've got the top 2 finishers in there. Bolt D'Oro, who perhaps benefited from that controversial disqualification. He certainly benefited from it. McKenzie, who finished first that day. Magnum Moon, yeah, Curse of the Apollo. He's at least won a prep race. He won last week's Rebel. I'm not gonna throw good magic out of there just yet off of one bad race in his seasonal debut. He didn't have to like that Gulfstream track. Solimini, a little bit disappointed, I thought. Didn't change leads last week in the Rebel, but it was his first start back. He had some hiccups. Maybe he can improve second time out. Let's take a look at that San Felipe. They really throw it down and they're bouncing off each other. Bolt D'Oro's on the outside. This is his first start of the year. McKenzie's got a little bit of recency. I thought this was the best I've seen McKenzie run. He's getting more professional with each and every start, but I put Bolt D'Oro on top because I think he's going to want to go a little bit further down the road, and I think this is a starting off point. He can build off of this race next time. Bolt D'Oro and McKenzie, though, right now, they, to me, look like the 2 best 3-year-olds in the country. Our top 5 lists might change next week because we have 2 major Kentucky Derby prep races to discuss this weekend, and we'll begin things off with the Louisiana Derby. Let's take a look at the field for Saturday's $1 million Louisiana Derby. It's a Grade 2. They're going a mile and an eighth at the fairgrounds. Carded as race number 11. For expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races this weekend, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Several logical contenders in here. Wayne Lucas has Bravazzo, but the morning line favorite, Matt, is the number 9, My Boy Jack. You've always liked this horse, and he came through in a big way last time at Oaklawn.
Yeah, I thought he looked good winning that race at Oaklawn most recently. We're going to take a look at that replay now. I suppose the big knock, and I think it's a valid knock, is that he rode a gold rail that day over a muddy sealed racetrack. And you see, again, it was a great ride from Kent Sormo. Everything seemed to work out perfectly for him. I have to be honest, I still think this horse is going to be much better down the road on turf than he is on dirt. It sounds like you're going to go get a bone-dry racing surface down in Louisiana on Saturday afternoon. So he's going to need to prove that he can take his race to a different racetrack over fast main surface and still be able to replicate that kind of late kick.
Mike, last week we saw Todd Pletcher put blinkers on one of his top hyped 3-year-olds in Vino Rosso. That didn't work out. He's putting blinkers on Noble Indy here. What makes you think the outcome's different?
Yeah, maybe Noble Indy's just a better horse than that one. We'll see. We'll see what happens. To me, the thing with Noble Indy is for a horse who just finished third in the Risen Star behind a couple of the horses he's going to run against again on Saturday, you just sort of feel like maybe he was the one of the 3 horses who were the shortest prices on the morning line. Maybe he at least has a little bit of an excuse for his last race in the Risen Star. He was sort of always in behind horses. The pace wasn't fast. He couldn't get out to the clear in the stretch. I think maybe that worked against this horse, as opposed to My Boy Jack, who got a perfect run up the rail into a fast pace, and Bravazzo, who just sat right up on the lead last time in the Risen Star in a pace that really held together. Maybe Noble Indy can improve after getting stuck in behind. His race 2 starts back at Gulfstream, which we're going to show a replay of now. I mean, he only wins this race by 3/4 of a length, but I think he won it a lot easier than that. He sat up on the pace with Mississippi. He's just under strong handling here to outfinish this horse. I thought this was an impressive performance. Maybe he improved a little bit last time with a cleaner trip. If he improves even just a little bit more, I think he's in a great spot on Saturday.
There should be some pace in this race. Noble Indy, while not a burner, getting the blinkers and inside post position, he should be forward. You're looking for a big price, Matt, with a horse coming from the back of the pack.
Yeah, Lone Sailor, I got to be honest, Dan, I hope you're right. I need some serious pace up front for this horse to have his late kick accentuated. I thought that most recent run of the non-winners of One Other Than much better than it may look on paper because there wasn't a lot of pace signed on, and he came with a nice run. We're going to go all the way back to his 2-year-old campaign and look at his stretch run in the Breeders' Futurity. You see him on the far outside right now. He's not going to be any match for the horse that ends up winning this race up in the front, Free Drop Billy or even Bravazzo, who you see down toward the inside. But I just like that he shows a little bit of interest late. At face value, you look at this pedigree and you'd suggest there's no way that 9 furlongs is going to be his bread and butter. But I like the way that he finishes in all of his races, and I kind of feel like now we're going to get that sort of hopeful progression. Third start off the layoff with a little bit of pace up in front of him.
I agree with Mike on this one. I'm going to go with the number 2, Noble Indy. I thought last time out, only start number 3, a really good learning experience down inside, getting dirt in his face, sort of in through a tight spot down towards the inside in late stretch. Maybe didn't want to go through it. Maybe that's the reason Todd's putting blinkers on. I think this horse can sit a comfortable trip in the second flight, and I'm looking for a big forward move with the addition of blinkers. I'll go with the number 2, Noble Indy. I'll go with Mike's top selection in the Louisiana Derby. Sunday, major Kentucky Derby prep race at Sunland Park. Of course, it's the Sunland Derby. Nicole Russo's got you covered from a pedigree perspective. We've got Peter Thomas Fornatell with his Tournament Talk segment, and then you're going to want to stay with us right after the break because we've got the DRF Bet Saturday and Sunday race of the days, including the Sunland Derby. Please stay with us.
Hey guys, Nicole Russo coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky for Out of the Gate. Looking ahead to this weekend's Sunland Derby with Kentucky Derby points on the line. Here's the field, and one of the most interesting horses to me here is Prince Lucky, making his first start for Todd Pletcher. And this Pennsylvania bred is a fun horse to talk about in this spot because he gives us an opportunity to discuss some different stallions, including some lines that have been very prominent in recent years in the competitive Mid-Atlantic region. Now, Prince Lucky won 3 of his first 4 starts, including this handy score in the Pennsylvania Nursery, before finishing 7th in the Lecomte in January. He's since moved from Larry Jones to the Pletcher barn and picks up Johnny Velasquez for this spot as he stretches out. He's by Corinthian, who stood at Gainesway in Kentucky before moving to Pennsylvania, where he really seemed to be finding a niche before being sent to stand in Turkey last summer. Now, I was very excited about this stallion when he first went to stud. He showed the miler ability that a lot of great stallions have shown, winning the mile and the inaugural Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He's a son of Pulpit, whose sons at stud include the likes of classic sires Tappet and Lucky Pulpit, from a good female family. Now, Corinthian didn't light the world on fire with just a dozen stakes winners to date, but I've always thought the potential was there. And Prince Lucky is one of 3 winners, albeit the other 2 coming at sprint distances, out of a mare by another regional stallion in Great Notion, himself a winner of the Southwest and second in the Rebel, now among the leading general sires in Maryland. Great Notion, the sire of many regional standouts, many of those around 2 turns, like 2-time Maryland Million Turf winner Flash Phelps and Maryland Million Distaff winner, the popular Crab Cakes. A lot of route ability and class, although a lot of it on turf in Prince Lucky's extended family. Names on the page include Italian Group 1 winner and high-weight Silvernesian. A quick run through of some of the others with notable pedigrees in the Sunland Derby field. Of course, we've talked before about graded placed Hollywood Star, who's out of a Grade 1 winner in Hollywood Story and by a classic sire Malibu Moon. Shane Zane by prominent sire Medaglia d'Oro, out of a mare who is a Grade 2 winner and Grade 1 placed routing on the turf. The well-regarded Peace is by Medaglia d'Oro's rising and versatile son Violence, among last year's leading freshmen. But maybe the best bred horse in the field is New York Central, coming off this game allowance optional win routing at Oaklawn. He's by Tappet, of course, a perennial leading sire and classic sire, represented by 3 Belmont Stakes winners. He's a half sibling and bred on the same cross as graded stakes winner Corfu. Their dam is a half-sister to the classic placed Peace Rules, a multiple Grade 1 winner routing. New York Central coming into the Sunland Derby for trainer Steve Asmussen. I think a lot of potential here. That's all for me this week on Out of the Gate. Now let's get you over to Peter for some tournament talk.
Peter Thomas Fornatal back with you on Out of the Gate to talk about all the stuff happening at DRF tournaments this weekend. We've got a couple of really exciting opportunities, including some of the final chances to win in to Keeneland's Grade 1 Gamble live money contest annually, one of the high points of the scene in the spring. Last year's Grade 1 Gamble attracted 171 entries. This year should do the same, if not a few more. You can pay $3,000 to play. 2,000 of that acts as a live bankroll. The other 1,000 feeds the prize pool in an event on Saturday on DRF tournaments. You can put up $410, and 1 in 10 entries will win not only the $3,000 seat to the Grade 1 Gamble, but also $500 in travel. We also have an opportunity to win into the new World Horse Players Tour Santa Anita Preakness Challenge this weekend. A little bit different this time. A lower money buy-in. You can buy in for it's going to be somewhere between $100 and $200, and it's going to be a ratio a little bit longer than the ones you're used to, a 1 in 30 ratio. But the benefit of this game is that you can just buy in and win your way right in. You can put up less than 200 and not have to deal with any feeders. Should be a very popular event. We'll obviously take 30 entries to go. You can feed into that one too if you'd like, in events on Friday and Saturday, but I expect most players to just go ahead, put up the money on Sunday, and win their way in. Chance to win into the World Championship of Handicapping as well this weekend. Other tournaments too, the Wood Memorial Tournament, lots of action. We have a rich inventory right now on DRF tournaments. I encourage players to check it out. Other news in tournaments, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge have released their new rules. You can read shortly on drf.com. I'll be posting an article about that. In short, seems like a real step in the right direction, solving many of the problems that plagued last year's event. Still a few more questions to answer, but big positive things happening from Breeders' Cup Limited and the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. They've gone a long way, I think, to restoring horse player faith in the event. couple more things that probably need to be answered along the way here, specifically how the auditing process is going to take place, but expecting to see that event bounce back this year, which is certainly something that's good for the contest world, one of the biggest contests out there, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. And just encourage folks once again to take a look for this weekend and beyond at all the things happening on DRF tournaments. You can find that at tournaments.drf.com. That's all I have from this week. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal, and stay tuned for more Out of the Gate right after this.
You asked, we listened. DRF Plus has more flexible subscription options. Use DRF Plus Basic for exclusive news and analysis, including our DRF Live real-time news feed. Or go deeper with DRF Pro and unlock buyers, closer looks, picks, and reports, including the DRF Daily Game Plan. DRF TV viewers get 50% off the plan of your choice. Use code DRFTV50 at checkout. Learn more about the DRF Plus subscription plans at drf.com/plus.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's take a look at the field for Saturday's DRF Bets Race of the Day. It's not a big field, but there's a ton of quality in race number 5 at the Great Race Place. The Grade 2 Santa Monica Stakes, 7 furlongs for fillies and mares. You can access free Formulator Pass performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com, and you can catch the expanded stakes preview on video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Matt, the number 4 Sky Diamonds, boy, she was a hard-hitting filly and mare sprinter last year, and she might have gotten just what she needed first time off the layoff in her most recent start.
That's kind of my hope anyway. This is a horse trained by Bill Spar. It seems like she's always done a little bit better at these longer distances, 6.5, even out to 7 furlongs. The most recent run was in the Las Flores. She was no match for the winner that day, Selcourt, but at the same time, I kind of look at it and say maybe this is an instance where Selcourt had the recency, going her preferred distance at 6 furlongs, now going 7/8 of a mile, second start off the layoff. Maybe Sky Diamonds can take that next step.
We're going to take a look at that race. Selcourt was battling with the razor-sharp Konaya. Selcourt's got the lead right now. Sky Diamonds sitting in third. I thought this track might have favored speed a little bit, might have worked against Sky Diamonds as well as that layoff. A little bit late for Sky Diamonds to change leads. That's a little bit unlike her, but it was her first start off with a layoff. And if there's a duel one more time with the two favorites, perhaps Sky Diamonds can take advantage. But Mike, I don't think there's really any doubt the most accomplished horse in this race is the multiple Grade 1 winner, Paradise Woods, who gave Unique Bella all she could handle last time out in the La Brea.
Yeah, she certainly is the most accomplished horse in the race. We'll just see what happens with her as she starts back. Her first start since that Grade 1 La Brea, where, she just couldn't hold off Unique Bella at the end of that race. But I thought all in all, it was a fine performance from her. Listen, maybe she's just more of a routing horse than she is a sprinting horse, and maybe this race, the Santa Monica, is just sort of a means to an end to get her stretched back out. She's had a couple of issues on the way in, but I just felt like maybe she was just the best horse in this race, and she's got speed. That Unique Bella race at La Brea, we can show the replay of it. I mean, she went a little early through the turn in that race to sort of make the lead in there. She's on the lead here as we pick up the replay. Unique Bella, of course, is the big gray on the outside. She's just not going to be able to hold her off in the last 16th of a mile or so, but still a fine performance from her. I'm just going to take Paradise Woods in this race because I'm not betting against her as the favorite, so I'm just not going to pick against her.
She really ran so well. Again, Unique Bella came back and ran something like a 109 buyer speed figure in her very next start. She's the horse to beat, Paradise Woods. The horse to catch perhaps might be Selcourt, and we talked about it a little bit in the expanded stakes preview. Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this race, and they have the number 5 Selcourt getting out there there on the lead. That blue bar indicates that Timeform US feels this race will favor horses on or near the early lead. Now, Mike and I were talking about it, and we wouldn't be surprised if Paradise Woods, who has speed, is hustled out of there and keeps Selcourt busy. I'm hoping that with the recency that Selcourt has over Paradise Woods, that they may not want to squeeze the lemon dry with Paradise Woods first time back, that this Timeform US pace projector is correct. And if it is correct, then perhaps Selcourt can make them pay. That 7th furlong is going to be demanding, but she's got the recency edge, and she has been real good off the layoff. So I'll take a chance with Selcourt to wire them in Saturday's DRF Bets Race of the Day, the Santa Monica Stakes. Now on to Sunday's DRF Bets Race of the Day, the Sunland Derby for 3-year-olds. Let's take a look at the field of 3-year-old Kentucky Derby hopefuls looking to take that next step on the trail in Sunday's Grade 3 Sunland Derby. $800,000 is the purse, 1 1/8 is the distance. For expanded stakes previews, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. We cover every horse in every graded stakes race this weekend. And of course, for free formulator past performances for the Sunland Derby, head on over to the Race of the Day event page on drf.com. Mike, Hollywood star, maybe compromised by pace last time out in the Sam F. Davis. He's going to get another chance for Dale Roman second off the bench.
Yeah, maybe that race didn't set up great for him last time in the Sam Davis. They took him back to last early. It was his first start of the year off the layoff, and he just got a little tired in the stretch for a trainer. It feels like he tends to give him one off the bench, and then they improve second time out. I'm hoping that's the case with Hollywood Star because, let's be honest, he's got to improve to win this race. Top buyer of 78 on the way in. That's not going to get it done. But it does feel like he's got upside. We have a video of his second career start. This is sort of an inconsequential replay for this horse, sprinting right off of a maiden win. He has no chance to get the copper bullet in here, but he goes about his business and finishes second best in this race. It feels like this Sunland Derby could set up a little better for this horse. There's more pace in this race. If he takes a step forward, maybe that's all it will take for him to catch a better setup, clean run into it, and maybe he can improve enough to pull off a little bit of an upset here.
One of the pace sources in here, Matt's the number 11, Runaway Ghost. You have Reride as one of your top 5 Kentucky Derby horses. Reride beat Runaway Ghost last time out, but Runaway Ghost made that horse work. He fits in here if he gets away to a nice easy lead and if he gets the 1 1/8. Are you worried about pace and distance?
Yeah, both of them. Terrified of both situations. The pace scenario, like you guys made mention, it looks like there's going to be a pretty serious one signed on, and Runaway Ghost figures to be forward. I kind of feel like, though, if you go to the run 2 starts back, he at least showed that he doesn't have to have the lead, that he can relinquish it a little bit and then take over. The most recent race, we're going to take a look at the Mind That Bird Derby. I thought he ran pretty well, all things considered, how fast they went early. Timeform US gave that first fraction a 164 as far as a rating is concerned for pace, bright red as far as the color is concerned, and he's no match for Reride. Now, keep in mind, this race at 1 1/16. Now they got to stretch out an extra 1/16 of a mile. I'm concerned with that as well, but they were 15.5 lengths clear of the third place finisher. I know they're facing much better horses this time around, but I think Reride is okay. And if Runaway Ghost can relax a little bit off the pace and then maybe make the move going into the far turn, I'll take my chances.
My top pick in here is wheeling back on pretty short notice for Mr. Mandela after chasing the big 2 of the 3-year-old division, at least the big 2 on my top 5 list, both Dioro and McKenzie in the San Felipe. Peace was no match for those horses that day. And in the race before that, I thought the inside was good at Santa Anita, and he was way on the outside on the backstretch, perhaps against the track. They've always had a little bit of high hopes for this horse, and it hasn't worked out. We'll go back to his maiden win, and this is kind of a workmanlike race for Peace, and I think this has kind of been his problem. He lacks focus at times. He seems to run in spots. Maybe the 1 1/8 and the grinding style that we see him employ in this race is going to work to his benefit, especially if there is some pace up front. There are no Bolt Dioros in here. There are no McKinseys in here. This is Peace's perhaps final opportunity to get his way into the Kentucky Derby picture. Again, the connections have always had high hopes. My main concern is that he gets hit significantly. He's double digit on the morning line, but that's where I'll go in the Sunland Derby. JK's play of the day, a Gulfstream pick 3. David Aragona's Timeform US Spotlight focuses on race number 9 at Aqueduct, and then stay with us. We got our best bet segment coming up.
Hey everybody, welcome to JK's Play of the Day. We're going to head down to Gulfstream Park for a pick 3, ending with the grade 3 Hutchison. I like a horse in that spot. The third choice, I feel like there's some value there. I want to try to hook up some other horses in the races leading up to it. Starting in race 10, it's a maiden special weight. Nothing crazy here. 3 to 5 on the morning line. Zippy Willie That horse was running against actually the horse I'm going to pick in the Hutchison last time out, was down on the inside, not the ideal place that day at Gulfstream. I think that horse obviously has a huge figure edge without looking to the fact that he was on the bad part of the track. I think he'll be extremely tough to start that off. We'll start with a single of the number 6, Zippy Willie. We're going to go on to the second leg, race 11. It's an allowance race. Notice that Rocketry is in here with Irad Ortiz. It caught my attention that Irad wasn't riding the horse for Chad. They obviously hook up quite often. Says a lot about Rocketry. Ran huge last time. The horse that beat him is a horse I actually like at Fairgrounds. LeCullen, that's running for Kieran McLaughlin that day in a stake down there. So I think Rocketry's going to be pretty tough in this spot. But I'm a little bit concerned that Conquest Sandman could get loose. So I'm going to use both of those horses in this spot, the 3 and the 7. And then going on to the grade 3 Hutchison, Impact Player down on the rail for Todd Pletcher is going to take money. Tricks to Do for Arnold Delacour is going to take money. And I'm going to use the 2 horse Bella Tapisserie or Tapestry. I'm going to use that horse, the 2 horse there. Ran well last time, got a big time form U.S. figure with a 116. I think the horse has got a little bit of talent. There was had a trip note that the horse was a horse that they thought a lot of at Saratoga, and they ran him on the grass, has run well since then. And I think that there's a little bit of value there if you can beat Todd down on the inside, who's 9-5, and then also Tricks to Do for Arnold Delacour. So good luck, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, this is David Aragona with this week's Timeform US Spotlight. We're going to be taking a look at the 9th race at Aqueduct on Saturday. There's a 10-race card on tap at Aqueduct on Saturday. There's a minor stakes race earlier in the card, but from a wagering perspective, the 9th race is really the feature and the highlight. You've got an 11-horse field of New York breds going 6 furlongs, a non-winners of 1 allowance race. And the first thing we notice about this race is that the pace projector is predicting a fast pace. You often see that in these larger fields of sprinters, and there are a few horses that figure to be clustered towards the front of the pack in this race. The one that figures to be the fastest of all early is the number 8 horse Breeze Burner, and we'll sort of take these horses from first to last in the pace projector, first talking about 2 of the speeds, and then we'll look at 2 of the closers. And Breeze Burner is the one that really needs the lead and is likely to get the lead based on his last race. He returned from a lengthy layoff 2-back in a cheaper claiming race. He was running for $10,000 on February 17th, then moved up to $20,000 on March 18th, which was just 6 days ago. But he ran a race that was simply faster than the other horses in this race have run. It was a bit of a surprise that he won that day. He went off at 10-1. There were a couple favorites in that race that didn't really show up, so maybe it made the race a little bit easier than it originally looked. But nevertheless, he ran a Timeform US speed figure of 112, which is just faster than a lot of the other horses have run in this race. Can he continue to that forward progression as he moves up into this protected allowance race? Gary Contessa, you see on the right-hand side in the upper right-hand corner, he doesn't have the strongest trainer ratings overall. He's a 52 overall rated trainer. If you dive into his trainer stats a bit more, he gets a 34 trainer rating with horses moving from claiming to allowance company. So he doesn't win with these horses rising in class that often. To me, that's a bit of a negative on a horse that's probably going to be around a short price in this race. So I'm a little bit against Breeze Burner given the pace scenario, but he's a horse you definitely have to be aware of. A horse that's going to be chasing Breeze Burner on the front end is Rock Doc, the number 11 horse. Drawn outside, they're probably going to have to use him a little bit to get over in this race because he really is a horse that wants to be up closer to the pace stalking. Last time out, all the way back on December 6th, they experimented with rating him a little bit. He was kind of in behind horses early after breaking fine, but just kind of getting reined in by Javier Castellano that day. He didn't really respond well to taking the dirt in his face, and he moved out in the stretch and just didn't really have any late kick. This is a horse that ran some faster races earlier last fall, seemed to kind of tail off at the end of the year. Now he's returning from a layoff. Jeremy Rose hasn't gotten that many mounts at this meet, not for this barn. He's run very few horses. Kind of wondering what we're going to get from this horse coming off the layoff. He doesn't project to get the easiest trip stalking that fast pace. So he's one that I would use, but more, underneath and with some other horses in this race. The horse that's the morning line favorite and one that projects to work out a pretty good trip is the Caretaker, number 4. Just coming off a really solid effort at this level. Maybe it was a slightly easier spot, but I thought he didn't quite get the right trip that day because he's the horse that possesses some tactical speed, and you see the second pace figure of that race is color-coded in blue, indicating that the pace was relatively slow. And the Caretaker just kind of got shuffled back early, ended up towards the back of the pack actually last around the far turn, and got loose a little bit late in the stretch stretch and kind of came with a rail rally in a race where you probably wanted to moving more outside of the horse that was on the lead. And he hung a little bit at the end. It's his tendency. He's a horse that does end up hanging at the end of his races, but he's been in pretty good form. He beat a biased 2-back. You see that red color-coded race rating box indicating that that track was favoring speed. And it was actually favoring horses running on the rail. And the Caretaker was one of the few horses to make an outside move that day. So the Caretaker's races are legitimate. He's in good form. Just wonder if he can quite seal the deal at a short price. I'm taking a shot with the horse that is going to be coming from furthest back of all, Altacino, number 3. You might have noticed in the pace projector, he's the one that's projected to be way behind the field early because he is a one-run closer. Now, his recent form doesn't look all that inspiring, but he's had some significant excuses in his races, and he's had some layoffs to deal with. Going all the way back to August 24th at Saratoga, you see the color-coded blue pace figures indicating that the pace was slow that day, didn't get the right setup. Then he faced a speed-favoring track on November 12th when just badly overmatched against New York Red Stakes horse My Boy Tate. Last time out, I thought he ran much better than it seems. That was the Caretaker's race where he finished second, and Altacino probably ran better than the Caretaker that day because he too was compromised by the pace, except he launched this wide premature move around the far turn, going 4 wide all the way around the bend, and he had a right to get tired at the end of that race, especially coming off layoff. Now he's finally running back on reasonably short rest for him after some layoffs prior last year. And I think he's going to move forward this day. Dylan Davis gets the assignment. If you look through all the horses in this race, he has the highest late pace rating of any horse in this race with a 97. That bodes well for him getting the right pace set up and really being able to take advantage of it. So at a squarish price, I think Altacino is the right one to take in here. I'll use him with the Caretaker and Rock Dock and a little bit of Breeze Burner. So that's Aqueduct's 9th race on Saturday. Let's send it back to the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Matt, you've been collaborating with the wise old owl, Rich Roble again. Santa Anita turf race.
Yeah, San Luis Rey, this is going to be an interesting race, 1.5 miles on the turf. And I know you guys have had instances like this before, and I'm sure everybody listening or watching this, well, you have a horse that you like, think there's some ability, you're just waiting for him to do something a little bit different. I've been waiting for Colonist to go long on the turf, basically for his whole career. And his most recent start, going 1 mile, we're going to take a look at that right now. I thought he ran pretty well. He got shuffled back a little bit. There wasn't a ton of pace. He tipped out, and he's just simply better than those horses. I actually thought this was the best that he's finished in any one of his starts. But this was at 1 mile, and he just gets up there in the shadow of the wire by a head, or by a nose, I should say. He galloped out very, very well, though. To me, this horse has wanted to go as long as he possibly can for some time. Keep in mind, the favorite in this race is going to be It's in the Post. It's in the Post was a mediocre horse going middle distances until Jeff Mullins and everybody stretched him out last year, and he turned into a totally different animal. I think there's a real scenario where that happens with Colonist. He's going to be a very fair number. Mike,
your NYRA analyst, I'm hoping that your best bet this week has figured out the gate.
Yeah, I think we're all hoping that the third race at Aqueduct on Saturday, maiden special weight sprint start. The horse I like is the 7 Ballard High. We'll put the replay up. Obviously, this is a horse. He didn't take that much money in this race. I don't know how much was really expected of him, but this horse just totally blows the break in this race. He comes out slowly, hits the gate, makes almost a left turn, and is just left behind this field. You can see still last turn in the stretch. There's not much to see from here. He runs on a little bit at the end, gets by one of the horses in front of him, but he was never a real threat in this race. What do you like about him in his second start? First of all, he has found a pretty good field here. If this horse improves at all, he is not facing much of a field on Saturday, but more importantly than that, he's trained by Linda Rice. Linda Rice's second-time starters routinely improve, and they improve a lot from start number 1 to start number 2. It feels like all they do is run way better in their second starts than the first start. And if Ballard High can do that, he has found a field on Saturday that he is going to beat.
My best bet's at Parks, race number 8, the number 1, Spanky. Yes, I said it. Spanky. We're going to take a look at Spanky's most recent race. He was involved in a pace skirmish with a couple of other horses. He has taken this thing over, turning into the stretch, but he's going to pay for his early energy expenditure because this is the favor on the outside. I do like the way Spanky digs in when this favorite comes, gets him in the stretch. He finishes a good second. This was his first start on this circuit. I think he has found a home at Parks. He's got speed and the rail. There are some other speeds in here, but I think he's the best speed, and I think Spanky at around 4-1 on the morning line seems like a fair price. I'll go with Spanky at Parks, race number 8. That is number 1. We thank you so much for watching Out of the Gate this weekend, and we urge you to follow all of DRF TV's offerings. All you got to do is go on Twitter and follow at DRF Video, and for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority, follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. That's it for this week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.